This is Time Signatures with Jim Ervin, a podcast and radio program presented by the Capital Area Blues Society in Lansing, Michigan.
Driving up and down these Michigan roads, yeah.
And now, here he is, your host, Jim Ervin.
Baby, I'm home.
Well, thank you so much as always, Parker, and welcome to Time Signatures. I'm your host, Jim Ervin, and today's episode is another one of those extra special chats. You all know that when I have a guest on, I always leave the door open, so when they release an album or have a big tour planned, they're always welcome to reach out and come back for a return visit. Well, such is the case today. And I'll tell you what, I love this guy. I've known him for several years. He and his girl have become very close friends with Garrett and I, and we had the great pleasure of enjoying their company over pizza and conversation. But this last visit was something very special. We got to listen to Larry's new album, Heartbreak City, an album, by the way, that goes on sale this Friday, June 13th. Now, if you haven't put in your pre-order yet, I'm telling you right now, you need to do this today, okay? It's coming out on vinyl, it's coming out on CD, and probably digital too. So make sure you put in your order. It's coming out on Joe Bonamassa's KTBA label, the second album that they've produced together. The last of the Arkansas blues shouters and bluesman without peer, according to Joe Bonamassa anyway, Larry McCray. Welcome to Time Signatures, my friend.
Hey, brother, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I got to turn my phone down. I forgot to do that before we started recording. Sorry about that. Oh, man.
Everything good?
You have to be beside yourself with the pending release of this new work, so we need to dive in here, right?
Hey, I'm very happy right now, man. I think we got a good project going, and I think it's probably my best project going. And
Yes,
I'm just happy to finally be putting out some work that I'm proud to be part of.
Yes, sir. Well, Larry, ever since your last album, Blues Without You, was released, I have to be honest, I've been waiting with childlike anticipation for the next one. But what makes Heartbreak City extra special to you?
Well, I think it's just that I'm getting closer and closer to home, closer and closer to what I had intended to be years ago. But, you know, sometimes when you're a young artist starting out, you have a lot of hands in the fire. And, you know, a lot of people telling you what is, what's not, what you should do, and this and that and the other. Until you really find your own identity, you know, you're always fishing around trying to find what your niche is. And all along, I knew all the time, you know, what my niche was, but
Yes, sir.
everybody else seemed to thought they knew better, you know, so I had to play along with them.
Well, Larry, talk about the writing process and then recording for this album. Rumor has it Peggy may have lent a hand on a few songs as well, eh?
Yeah, well, you know, whenever I'm writing, I always try to include Peg because she's very poetic sometimes, and sometimes she sees things in a different way than I do, in a different light than I do. And
Okay.
I'm very rustic. I'm very, dirty hands kind of guy. And so the two of our styles mixed together is a good compromise, you know, I think. You know, I'm just only speaking from my opinion. And I never say, hey, this music is all this and that and other. I try to do my best job. And then I leave it up to people to decide for themselves whether they like it or not. You can't take it personally, you know.
So I remember seeing your post last fall when you arrived in California and the updates throughout that week. Talk about teasing your fans, man. But where was this recorded? And talk about the amazing studio crew that you worked with this time around.
Okay. Well, we went to the Sunset Studio in Los Angeles, California, I believe in Hollywood. And it's a very famous studio because it's where Prince recorded Purple Rain. Several other classic rock and roll hits were recorded out of this studio. So it has a real high reputation and, you know, high fame for, you know, the work that have came out of the studio. So I was very happy to get to work there. I got a chance to, the most unique thing about what they call it now is the Purple Room, the room where Prince recorded is that everything is set and left the way that he had it. The way it was set up when he recorded, they left it just that way. And anyone else that comes in, you know, have to leave as is. And I guess it was some mojo in there. You know what I'm saying?
So this is the studio that you recorded in, the actual room.
Yeah, the old famous Sunset Studio. And as far as the crew, I got a chance to work with Joe B and his crew, and that's always a pleasure because on bass guitar was Calvin Turner, who is an amazing bass player and very, very creative with his bass lines and everything. And he's really got a good take on music theory and how it goes together and everything. And I really enjoy talking to Calvin quite a bit, but he's a very special bass player. We had on drums another Michigander, Mr. Lamar Carter, who's originally from Michigan, and he was taught to play drums by his mother.
Wow.
And and as you can hear in his work, you know how accomplished he is. And you know, all of Joe's guys are just a charm to work with. There's the veteran, the Sarge or the General, that's Mr. Reese Winan. You know, so I mean, you know, Reese played with Stevie Ray. He played with everybody in the business. He started out in the original Allman Band before they even got famous. And I mean, you know, that's just how long he been around. Played with everybody.
Sure.
And to have that type of a crew cutting tracks for you along with Joe B and Josh Smith, it's up to you to screw it up, man. And then on top of that, you know, we got a chance to use Joe B's background ladies, Danielle D'Andrea, and Miss Jade McCray. And man, them two girls are just so good together. They are very powerful. They're two sweet little girls. They got a powerful thing going on. And for me, the whole situation is always really special, man, because I don't get a chance to do that kind of thing all the time. So it's a special coming together. And I have to try to take advantage of it.
Yes, absolutely. Now, I recently read somewhere that Joe Bonamassa has already given this project a massive thumbs up, calling it perhaps your best work to date. And I have to admit, after hearing that with you, even the first time through, I have to agree. What do you say? What do you think?
Well, I mean, you look at it, Irv. You know, I come from a whole career of I'm a self-made man. I mean, you know, all of my productions and everything, I never really had a proper situation like this going, working with professional people at this level. So, I mean, you know, I've made a lot of records and worked with some very notable producers. But the difference is from then to now, I think that me personally, I have become more focused on who I am and what it is that I have to offer. In the early days, like I said, you know, when you hear all these amazing things that go on in the music world, you hear this one. I mean, I heard Joe B and Josh Smith, all of their careers. You know, different other people, you know, different things that, you know, success, you know, had big success. Like Robert Cray, when Robert Cray had his success, everybody tried to jump on Robert's wagon. Well, if you always chasing success, by the time it hits, you are already too late if you're chasing. So, you know, you have to figure out at some point what it is that you are and what you stand for. And so with that being said, like I said, I think I have matured a little bit as an artist. I still have the same basic style, but I think I'm a little bit more focused. And to be able to work with them guys is really something special, man. And and not only beside that, we had Kirk Fletcher on guitar, the wonderful Kirk Fletcher, one of my favorite players. And man, you talking about making a blues record, it don't get a whole lot better than that, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Larry, this album is such a fun mix of R&B, blues, and funk. It's everything the Larry McCray fan has come to expect, but you always seem to find a way to catch the listener off guard, don't you? You always have those little fun twists and turns incorporated in the work. Talk about that for a minute.
Well, I mean, I hope and I think that that's what have been my signature. I'm not a real technical player or anything like that. I'm first and foremost a blues player. But I, you know, aspire to do other things. So I dabble with a lot of other things trying to learn how to play guitar. So with that being said, you know, I like a very precise, articulate guitar. You know, I like the way Joe B plays. I like the way Josh plays. I have several people that I love. My first mentors were Albert Collins, Albert King, and B.B. King and Freddie King, besides my big sister. And then, you know, outside of blues, then I really love the music of Larry Carlton and Lee Ritner, people like that. I love funk music. I loved Sly Stone. I love Larry Graham. I love so many different things. I love Gladys Knight. One of my favorite vocalists of all time was Miss Candy Staton. I love the way Candy Staton sang. And so, I have so many, Ray Charles. I have so many influences to draw from.
And don't forget Luther, man. Don't forget Luther from the first
interview.
No,
for sure. Luther was right in amongst, and the sweet thing about Luther is that I really got a chance to know him and become his friend. So I'm very proud of the relationship that I had with him, and as well as his son, Bernard.
Yes, sir. It's such a cool thing that you got to play with Josh Smith and Joe's backup singers, and and having see, now I've forgotten the name, keyboard player. I'm sorry. What a
Reese
terrible
Wyman.
thing. Reese. Thank you.
Yes.
And just having I want you to talk for just a minute about the chemistry that was involved in the studio. I mean, as you've already pointed out, you were in an incredibly historic room to begin with, but the chemistry that you had with the team seemed really cohesive in this album, didn't it?
It did. Well, I like I said, I have to speak about Reese Wyman. I mean, I can't say enough about him because I was a young man myself when Stevie Ray Vaughan was at the height of his situation. Right. Stevie was 4 years older than me. Okay. But, we had a lot of the same influences, and it definitely was a connection when I heard him playing Albert King. Well, before Stevie, when you would play Albert King, you would be playing Albert King. After Stevie, if you played Albert King, you was playing Stevie Ray Vaughan. So, I got accused of that a lot, but I wasn't copying Stevie. I was already playing Albert, the same reason he was, because he was an influence and it struck home, But right. To say that, I have to say that I was a big Stevie fan, and I was right, a young man, prime, right at the height of his success. I was right, ready myself, for an opportunity like that. And I always longed for the opportunity to play with Stevie. But, Reese Wyman was, Stevie started out a trio. When he added the keyboard, it was Reese Wyman, and he had one of his biggest successes when he added Reese Superstition, Wall of Denial. When he added keyboard sound to his band, it blew up even bigger. So, I would see Reese Wyman playing on TV and stuff like that. I never thought I would get a chance to even meet him, or would have been glad just to see him play. And sure. Then, to have got a chance to work with him on 2 projects, that's special. Yes. I think the world of him, and I try to tell him that every time I see him, and let him know what a treasure he is and for all the contributions that he have made,
Yes, sir.
So, I love the fact that, I get a chance to play with him. Now, me and Josh, I'm the closest with Josh because when I first started out playing, Josh was starting out back in them days too, but he was just a youngster. He was just a teenager with the guitar, but he was a hell of a guitar when he won the more about 15 years old. And I think his first record come out when he was 13. Wow. And so, I knew him all the way from back in them days in the early 90s. I knew his mom and dad and whole family back in them days. So to see him from left the Midwest and move to California, and to see the changes that it made in him as a person and in his playing, to have known him as a kid and now to know him as a grown man, I mean, it's really special. I really appreciate Josh Smith. And like yes, I said, as far as Joe go, Joe was always so good. I didn't thought that he would ever appreciate anything that somebody like me played. I know, like I said, I'm humble and I'm modest about what I do. I just try to be the best that I can be. I don't compete against nobody else. I could compete against myself to be my best. And that's the way I have always approached it. And so, it was a real shocker to find out that, Joe liked my music. It really, it made me feel good, to have somebody like him said that he liked what I did. I mean, that was, you wouldn't, if you're a guitar player, you wouldn't want him to say that guy sucked. You wouldn't want to be that guy, Right. And so it made me feel good, that he accepted my music. And once I
Absolutely.
got over the second time, the first time, I was really, really nervous to play in front of him and Josh too, because Josh done got so damn good himself. So when you playing around people that do the same thing that you do, sometimes it's a distraction to have somebody like that sit around and watch you, all eyes on you. So you have to kind of you have to shut everything else out and try to focus on what you do know and try to bring your best forward. And that's the biggest challenge of being in something like that. I used to be a DJ too. I've been a DJ 3 different times in my life. And back
Wow. Okay.
in the 90s when Kirk Fletcher first come out, he had a record on Delta Grove Records. And I used to play Kirk Fletcher on Delta Grove on my program. And when I got his album and looked at him, I'm like, damn, this cat looked like my nephew. And so, he looked like family. And when I heard him play, I'm like, damn, this is the way that I always wished that I could play. Kirk has a style that he's very R&B, but be it necessary, he can go full out jazz. He played the blues just like yesterday. And, he's got, real good rock approach. So he's really a complete player. And he's one of my favorites also. I really give him high compliments in terms of what he brings to the board. So, I mean, that was the whole situation was special. Lamar's just a special guy. And I got
And
that Michigan.
Lamar is from Lansing, Michigan originally.
He's originally from Lansing, Michigan.
Yeah.
Like I said, he was taught drums by his mother.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I mean, the whole experience. Every time I go, man, I mean, it's like one of my favorite things to get to do. It's just a lot of work because there's not a lot of time to lay around. They work when you go in there. You're gonna put out a record, and you ain't got a whole lot of time to think about it. So it's best to be kind of prepared, already when you get there.
Well, speaking of the record, so many great tunes on this album, Larry. It's one of those albums that catches your attention right out of the gate. But I have a few favorites, including the title track, Heartbreak City, Everything Falls on Me, I Know What I've Done,
Yeah.
Keep On Loving My Baby, and oddly enough, Hangman, which is a bit of a darker tune, admittedly. But what about you? What tracks hit you as maybe some of your favorites?
Well, I would have to say you want the first ones I play when I play the record. I got a whole sequence. I go Bye Bye Blues. I go
I don't have a list
Bright
in front of me.
Bright Side.
Okay.
I go Bye Bye Blues, Bright Side, Heartbreak City, Everything Falls on Me. Then the first 4. Now sometimes I started right off on the top and let it run right down. But if I'm picking them on my first 4, I pick Bye Bye Blues, Bright Side, Heartbreak City, and then I top it off with Everything Falls on Me because I really Everything Falls on Me is high up on my list of favorite. I mean, that's more my style and more things what I normally lean to because it's what I call a booty shaker. I think it's a good track to dance to. It's got real good words. Them were all Peggy's words, and everything that she said in the song was all going on at one time in our lives. So she just sitting around writing about everything that was going on, And so I think the record was really fun. Lyrically, it was fun to create with Peggy. But although Heartbreak City and Brightside were brought to the project by Josh Smith, and they were written by, I can't remember the writer's name. It's terrible that I don't. But he used to write for Bobby Blue Bland, and those songs were written for Bobby Bland, but he never got around to recording them. So he brought them for me, and I did my version of them.
Very cool. I'd have to be honest with you. I really enjoy Bye Bye Blues. It was a lot of fun. And one of the coolest things is hearing your song all the way down at Queensland, Australia. A gentleman by the name of Sean Bindley has a podcast called Blues with a Feeling.
Yes, sir.
And he's playing your single down there right now. And We talked about it, him and I, because we do chat once in a while, and
Uh-huh.
he's really taken with it. And I said, man, if you like that, you're gonna love the rest of that album, man. But
You tell
I
him I would
mean,
love to say hello to somebody down there. I got a chance. Australia was my bucket list, was on my bucket list. And I got a chance to go down there with Devin and the family project last year.
yes,
And I got a
yes,
chance we went to about 5 different cities, I think. And I really
okay.
met some nice musicians down there and some nice people. And it's just a place that I have always wanted to get to know better. So tell him I'm hoping to get a chance to come back down there. And if he ever want to talk, do anything like that, I would be happy to talk to him.
You just told him, because I guarantee you, when I put this thing up, he's going to want to hear it and he's going to check it out. So you just told him
Oh,
personally. So,
okay.
so speaking of tours, what are your plans? It looks, I know from what I was seeing, it looks like you've got some busy stuff with the Allman Betts Family Revival later this year. I would
Yeah,
assume something has to be in the works to promote the new album as well.
right. Well, I will be doing some promoting of my new record on my own, but let me see, I believe in August and September.
Okay.
Devin has a project out this year, and it's called Devin Allman's Blues Summit. And I'm
Hmm.
going to be part of that. They have a lady from New Orleans, a fine singer. Her name is Sierra Green. She's going to be part of it. It's going to be Devin and the Blues Project, his band, Dwayne Betts, myself,
Wow.
Jimmy Hall. Let me see, Jimmy Hall, and I think one other artist. I'm not for sure, but it's called Devin Allman's Blues Summit. And if you Google that or go to that, it'll tell you all the places it's coming to and everybody that's involved.
And isn't there an album to go along with that as well?
Yeah, yeah. Everybody that's participating is going to have a cut on the album, and I guess we'll be playing the music from the album.
There you go. Larry McCray fans, make a note. There's a new album coming out. Be looking for that one too.
Yeah.
Larry, speaking of touring, where can people go to buy this new album on CD or vinyl or digitally, I would assume? Maybe buy some merch like this badass Hog Powered Blues t-shirt or book you for a gig.
Okay. Well, I have a new website out, and
Mhm.
it's Larry McCray Official, and you can get it there. But preferably, it's better for me if you go to Bandcamp. It's going to be at Larry McCray on Bandcamp. And it'd also be on like Spotify and all the other streaming apps that they normally have on. But on my recommendation, go to Bandcamp because
Okay.
Bandcamp is the most gratuitous toward the artist. They take the least out of anybody at Bandcamp. So I put all my stuff on Bandcamp. And as far as the t-shirts and all that stuff, that's going to be available on my website.
Okay. And if I'm not mistaken, you have everything in your catalog is on Bandcamp as well, right?
That's right. That's right.
So if you're missing anything, folks, anything at all, any piece of work that Larry's ever put out, you can buy it right there at Bandcamp. Awesome
At
place.
Bandcamp.
Just my opinion.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Larry McCray, always a pleasure, my friend. And as always, I appreciate your time. Much continued success to you as this album gets released and safe travels.
Well, Number One Bluesman has got high hopes, man, but it's people like you that gives us hope, Irv. And I appreciate you having me on the show. To all the people that's listening, I appreciate them. I love my Michigan people. I miss my Chicago people. And I'm hoping to get on out there and make new friends and connect with a lot of things that I've lost over the last 40 years. So
Yes,
I'm
sir.
coming full circle back around this time. And I just hope that the people give me another chance and come on out and check it out. I'm not out to impress, but I'm out to spread good vibe and people leaving. I hope they always feel good that they've been something wholesome, man, something good that didn't hurt nobody.
Yes, sir. Well, before we close this edition of Time Signatures, I want to tell you about Joe Bonamassa's Keeping the Blues Alive Foundation. Now,
Okay.
some of you know KTBA for their annual cruises, but did you know that they also have a program called Fueling Musicians? This initiative is designed to provide financial support such as food, shelter, and more to help struggling musicians, music educators, and industry professionals get back on their feet.
Wow.
Additionally, They also have KTBA Records, a label that has reignited the music careers of musicians like this man right here, Larry McCray, but also Dion, Joanna Connor, and others. There's so much more. Please visit keepingthebluesalive.org today and make a tax-deductible donation. It's time and money well spent. And thank you, as always, for your consideration. And that wraps up this edition of Time Signatures. Once again, my thanks to our guest, Larry McCray, but also to you, for without you, none of this would be possible. Jim Ervin reminding you, keeping the blues alive is everyone's responsibility, but preserving the history of the blues, one story at a time, is my mission. Until next time, so long, everybody.
This has been Time Signatures with Jim Ervin, presented by the Capital Area Blues Society in Lansing, Michigan. For more information on cabs, visit capitalareablues.org. You can find this episode and past episodes at lccconnect.org. The Time Signatures theme song, Michigan Roads, is used by permission and was written by Root Doctor, featuring Freddie Cunningham.
You know I'm trying, baby, driving up and down these Michigan roads, yeah.
Until next time, keep on keeping the blues alive.